Last Thursday was June 16th, a day forever branded in our memory, a day that has joined the pantheon of tragic turning points in human history. Where were you on 6/16? You'll never forget, and neither will we. At the time, we were preparing a show on Tony Fauci and his push for a new corona shot for kids. It seemed important then. It seems so trivial now. As we were speaking on the air, at that very moment, a team of 7 saboteurs had entered the Capitol grounds and then proceeded, as saboteurs do, to breach the Capitol itself. Inside those hallowed grounds, within the very womb of democracy, these wreckers began their hunt for sitting members of Congress. That happened, ladies and gentlemen, and if it sounds shocking to you, it gets more harrowing from there. This was not some spontaneous outbreak of insurrection. No. This was a meticulously planned coup from afar. The group in the Capitol was under the direct control of an extremist called Stephen Colbert, who, as a white man, is by definition a white extremist. This white extremist, Stephen Colbert, had a fifth column within the Capitol to help him pull off his diabolical plan. He had members of Congress in his employ. Members of Congress who, believe it or not, helped the insurrectionists enter the Capitol. Just open the doors and let them walk in. Yes, that can happen. And that fifth column included Adam Schiff of California, Stephanie Murphy of Florida, and a new member called Jake Auchincloss of Massachusetts, besmirching his family name. Those 3 members of Congress allowed the wreckers inside the Longworth House office building. While inside, the insurrectionists tried to gain access to a restricted area, but they were thwarted by brave law enforcement who arrived, risking their very lives to remove the insurrectionists from the premises. But it wasn't enough, because hours later, an aide to Congressman Auchincloss secretly permitted the insurrectionists to re-enter the Capitol complex. And then around 8:30 p.m., they caused some kind of disturbance. The details are murky as of tonight. But according to one report, they were banging on windows inside the Capitol, trashing the place, committing violence against our democracy. And for that, apparently, we are hearing tonight, they were put in jail. But within hours, they were out again. Now, the man who controlled this attempted coup, Stephen Colbert, knew exactly what he was doing. He knew the stakes. He knew the crimes he was committing. And we know that because just last year, this white extremist, Stephen Colbert, explained that grown men who unlawfully enter the Capitol to harass sitting members of Congress are not pranksters. They're not protesters. They're domestic terrorists.
Lord have mercy. There are some dark subjects that we talk about on the show occasionally, but I've rarely been as upset as I am tonight. This is the most shocking, most tragic, least surprising thing I've ever seen. And his followers did what he told them to do. Behave in a way that's, what's the word? Deplorable. One of these domestic terrorists even broke into Speaker Pelosi's office and put his feet up on her desk. They now live in an alternate universe that is now collapsing in on itself. It's like a black hole of whiteness. And this was never some sort of peaceful protest. This was Charlottesville come home to roost.
Oh, it's shocking. These are domestic terrorists. Stephen Colbert, in what the literary community refers to as foreshadowing, described his own coup. And yet Stephen Colbert somehow still has access to the airwaves and to digital media, spreading his hate unfettered, convincing future generations of insurrectionists to do what his team of saboteurs did last week. That must stop. People who plan coups must be silenced. There's recent precedent for that, and anyone who disagrees should be disconnected from Amazon Web Services immediately. No spreading hate. But stopping white extremist Stephen Colbert from passing on his message of insurrection to the country won't solve what the rest of us are living with, and that's trauma. And like all trauma, journalists are affected most profoundly. We're scarred by what we saw. We're all Casey Hunt tonight. It'll be a long time before we can revisit the Capitol building, before we can forget where we were when democracy shook on its very foundations. It's going to take therapy. It's going to take a lot of support from our fellow survivors before we can recapture the carefree innocence that Stephen Colbert stole from us, before we can feel safe again.